Hello everyone, and welcome to my first book haul. So today I just wanted to show you guys some books that I've gotten in the last few months or so. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the books. I've also split them up into categories. It will be fantasy, horror, classics, and the junk food category, as I like to call it. But let's get into it, and I will start off with the fantasy that I picked up. The first book that I picked up is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton, and I've actually already started reading this book and I've been really enjoying it. This is basically about, it's set in the 17th century. It follows this kind of detective duo, and they think that this ship is basically cursed and that everyone is going to die and they're not going to make it to their destination of Amsterdam. And it follows a bunch of different characters, and they're kind of trying to unravel this mystery. And yeah, I really enjoy isolated murder mysteries, and it's just the perfect vibe for fall, you know? So yeah, really enjoying this so far. And another book I got recently is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I've also started this one, but I kind of put it on hold because it is quite a big book, but I definitely do plan on finishing it in the maybe next month or so. I'll pick it back up. But essentially this is about a world in which the sun has been completely covered so that daytime is essentially nighttime, and vampires can roam and rule this world. And basically it kind of starts off like Interview of the Vampire vibes, but a human's being interviewed by a vampire instead of the other way around. So I really quite liked that, and this will be a series. I'm not sure if it's going to be a trilogy, but I think it will be. So yeah, this one just came out and I am really enjoying it so far. So yeah, excited to continue this probably in November. And the next book I got was actually a recommendation from one of the booksellers at my local bookshop, and that is The Child Thief by Brom. Now, this was sold to me as a dark retelling of Peter Pan. Essentially that Peter Pan is not a good guy and he goes around and kidnaps children. That's pretty much all I know about this. There are gorgeous illustrations in this edition, and I've just heard great things, and I do trust my booksellers at my local shop. They always have just excellent recommendations and things that I have never heard of before. I believe this is also the same author that just came out with Slewfoot, which I also want to pick up too. I just genuinely want to read Brom, just in general. But yeah, this is the first one that I picked up from them. And speaking of authors that I really want to read from, I picked up my first Joe Abercrombie, The Blade Itself. I'm really excited to finally start reading Abercrombie's books. And The Blade Itself just called out to me. What can I say? I love a dark, gritty fantasy story. And that's exactly what I expect to get out of this. So in this one, we're following an infamous barbarian, a dashing officer, a crippled turned torturer, and a wizard. And it just says, murderous conspiracies rise to the surface. Old scores are ready to be settled, and the line between hero and villain is sharp enough to draw blood. Another one of my favorite things are morally gray characters, or just characters we root for, even if they do the most heinous things. So yeah, I think he's definitely going to be an author for me, and I'm so excited to finally get into this. Although, you know, big books are quite intimidating for me. I am a slow reader, so I'm not sure when I'll be feeling ready to tackle this, as I have quite a lot of thick books that I do want to read, a lot of them being series, but nonetheless, really excited to finally have one of his books in my collection. And the last kind of fantasy. This is more sci-fi actually, but I just put it with fantasy because it's the only sci-fi that I picked up. Well, not the only one, but the only one that's not a classic. So I've been wanting to pick up this series for a long time, but I was hesitant because it's long. It's a long series, lots of books in the series, and I believe it's still ongoing. And all the books are really long. But I've only heard great things, and I love a good sci-fi story. So when I saw this, I think it's, yeah. When I saw this 10th anniversary edition of Leviathan Wakes, I could not resist. I mean, those sprayed edges just called out to me, you know? Also, this naked book is just something else. She is just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Black and pink are like two of my favorite colors. So absolutely, absolutely. Also, look at the inside of the dust jacket. Like, hello? There's also this cool, like, kind of a map. It's in the front and the end of this book. So essentially, this is the first book of the Expanse series by James A. Corey. And we follow an ice miner named Jim who is making his rounds to Saturn's rings when he discovers a ship. And within that ship is a secret that people would kill for. So like I said, I've heard really great things about the Expanse series. I've heard that the pacing is just fast and excellent and it will keep you gripped. And I'm sure we follow a bunch of different characters, but I'm just really excited to finally read a sci-fi epic story. It just sounds amazing and everyone loves this series, so I hope that I will too. Okay, next I'm just gonna go ahead and get the classics out of the way because I only have a few of them. So I'm actually almost done with this one. And this is a recommendation from my boyfriend actually, and it's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. And this story is really kind of hard for me to describe, but I'll do my best. It's very short, so I don't want to say too much. But essentially, it's about questioning what humanity is and androids that can pretty much perfectly emulate humans. And are they human? Are they alive? Do they have feelings? We don't know. But we follow a couple of different characters. One of, I would say, the main character out of the group that we follow is hunting down androids, and you basically follow his journey and what he has to go through, and essentially just life on Earth after everyone's pretty much left to go live on Mars. And yeah, it's been pretty good. It's definitely very weird. I am a fan of weird shit, trust me, but this is just a whole other realm of weird. Like, I don't really know where it's going and I'm almost done with it, so I guess we'll see how I feel about this once I finish it. And the next classic that I picked up was Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. I don't know how to pronounce that, but apparently this is the book that inspired Dracula, which I had no idea of until I saw this beautiful book just sitting there. So this essentially follows the gothic tale of Laura, who is living with her ailed father in a mansion, and one day a visitor appears named Carmilla, and she's very beautiful, you know, very mysterious, and Laura starts to notice that Carmilla goes out a lot at night. And so obviously it's a vampire story, but I just really wanted to see what inspired Dracula, even though I have not read Dracula yet, which is honestly such a crime. It's on my TBR, but it's very short. It sounds amazing. I love a good gothic tale, so very excited to read this soon. And the next book in the classic section that I got is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And this has an introduction by Stephen King. I didn't even notice that. But anyway, this is an illustrated edition. It was pretty much the only edition that I could find that I really, really liked. But I haven't read Frankenstein, and that's honestly a crime. I think everyone knows what it's about. It's again delves into the question of humanity, and is this creature that I created more human than the human itself? And I just love that kind of concept. So yeah, very excited to read this awesome classic that everyone seems to love. Okay, so let's move on to all of the horror books that I picked up, starting with In Ghostly Japan, Japanese Legends of Ghosts, Yokai, Yurei, and Other Oddities, by this author I cannot pronounce the name of, and I will not even attempt to. But so far I've only read the first story. It's just a few pages, and it was really spooky. And I actually do want to read more, but I think I'm just gonna save this for when I'm in more of a short story kind of mood. Right now I'm just in a mood to read longer horror novels. So yeah, this has been sitting by my bed for a while, so yeah. Really excited to read this, and I just love this cover. And the next book that I got is actually something that I found in a used bookstore in like perfect condition, and it is my first Darcy Coates, The Haunting of Ashburn House. And this, I don't really know what to say about it, except that it is pretty much your classic haunted house story, which is one of my favorite horror things to read about. We follow this woman, Adrienne, as she has to move into this house because it is her last lifeline, and then she kind of realizes that things are not great in this house, and there's this mystery of kind of what the ghosts are in this house and figuring that out. And that's pretty much all I know about this story, but yeah, I'm really excited to finally start reading from this author as well. And the next thing that I picked up is Goblin by Josh Malerman. This is a short story collection, and all of the stories within this book take place in the fictional town of Goblin in Michigan. I just love this cover so much. Honestly, I have not been hearing great things about this, but short story collections are just like kind of fun, and I don't mind reading like one or two here or there when I'm in the mood, just like with the Ghostly Tales book that I have. It's not really something that I'm expecting to blow me away. It's not something that I expect to be a 5-star read. It's just, you know, just a little snack in between other novels, you know? And these next two are actually really highly anticipated new releases for me, and I'm very excited to read them, but also very nervous because I really want to like them, but I'm not really sure if people are liking these yet because they're so new, if that makes sense. But anyway, I picked up The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward, and this is another cover that I just love so much. Like, horror is killing it this year with covers. But I don't really know what to say about this. Oh, Stephen King blurbed it. Interesting, so Stephen King liked it, so good enough for me. It says, in a boarded up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. So, this book is very mysterious. I have honestly no idea what it's about even after that blurb, but I think that's how it's meant to be. I have heard that we are following through the perspective of the cat, so that's going to be very, very interesting to read from the perspective of a cat. I don't think I've done that since I tried to read the Warriors series as a kid. But yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Alright, and the next book I want to talk about is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. This is a gothic tale about this woman named Jane who just wants to be stable. You know, she wants to marry this guy and just you know, have the stability that marriage offers. But the guy that she marries starts acting weird. Like at night, he thinks that she is an apparition come to haunt him. And yeah, so it's basically about her kind of dealing with the man that she married being a little weird. And yeah, and basically what happens with their relationship. And that's pretty much all I know. That's all the blurb really says too. Honestly, I don't know if it's saying too much or too little at this point, but I would rather just know less going into this, because it just sounds like it's going to be amazing, honestly. And this is another cover that I just love so much. Okay, now moving on to the final section, which is the junk food books, as I like to call them. But that's no no offense to people who like YA. I just personally don't usually get into YA anymore. But yeah, if you like it, more power to you. I don't care. Honestly, I'm nobody. I'm just on the internet, so there you go. But anyway, the books that I picked up are The Cruel Prince and its sequel, The Wicked King by Holly Black. So I picked these up because I have just been in the mood for fae stories. And I remember reading Holly Black when I was in like 7th grade or 8th grade. I think I read her book called Tithe. And it was very angsty. It was very urban fantasy, like fae from what I recall. But I loved it. It was definitely a product of its time though. It would not do well today. But anyway, I've heard really good things about The Cruel Prince, and it's a fae story. It's about Jude and her sister, how her parents were killed when they were young, and then both of them were whisked away to the High Court of Fairy, and it skips 10 years, and now Jude just wants to belong, but fairies just basically don't like humans at all. And then there's something about this prince called Carden. So, yeah. Really, really just wanted like a fun YA fae story with some romance, you know? So yeah, that's why I got these two. The last book I want to talk about is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And this is pretty much in the same vein as the last books, in that I just really wanted like romance heavy fantasy, because I don't know, I'm just craving that, you know? But this book is basically about this world where this woman is like the chosen one, but in a way that's really kind of sad and lonely. She is named the Maiden, and she's supposed to be like pure and innocent and like a virgin. But yeah, and it's to do with their gods in the world, and I don't know, somehow she's gonna save the world by being a virgin. I don't know. But anyway, then one of her guards, she gets a new guard one day, and he's like kind of cute or something. So I don't know. The blurb didn't really tell me much, so I don't know. Like I said, it's just gonna be a fun time. So yeah, I hope I do like this. I do really like this cover, honestly. It's quite pretty. And those are all the books that I've picked up in the last few months. Let me know if you've read any of these or what you have picked up recently yourself. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Yeah, look, lean back. Yeah, there you go. Hell yeah.
Maybe I do have a problem. I can't even see my face.
I can see you trying to make like selfie faces.
This book is fucking choking me. This is gonna be fun for the outtakes. Maybe I'll make part of this my outro. We'll see. Oh, I'm trying to be cute, but then like, ah! This one is a little loose. There we go. It's the dick one. The android sheep one.
The dick one.
Yeah, it's by Mr. Dick.
Mr. Phil Dick.
Fill this dick.